Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday afternoon. Hope everybody's well. Hope everybody's FPL game week 37 is going quite well. And those arrows are looking like they're going to be green. For the benefit of the audio, my name's James. I'm one half of the Planet FPL podcast, and you are listening to my regular weekly live Ask James stream on YouTube, which unusually this week is a little bit earlier in the week than normal. It's Tuesday afternoon. We normally do this on a Friday during the season. We have been doing it on Thursdays recently. Reason for doing it today so me and Suj can do a full review of game week 37 on Thursday, and we've got Clash of the Correspondents on Friday as well, and obviously we've got our Sky podcast tomorrow as well. So that's the reason for doing it earlier this week. And I'm hoping the YouTube viewers today, bearing in mind it's 5 till the FPL deadline, and there's plenty that can change between now and then. I'm hoping the guys in the YouTube stream are going to bring some questions which might differentiate a lot from FPL. But for those watching on YouTube, as per usual, anything football related, I will get you covered. Let's see who's in the chat today. We've got Nick Griffith. Hi, James. Just seen that it's been announced that Coventry have an agreement with Warwick University to build a new ground on their land. Hopefully a sign of better things to come for them. Yeah, very much so. Obviously on our 24-hour stream, we had John at FPL Coach join us in the morning. We spoke about FPL and we spoke about Coventry quite a bit as well. They've obviously won League One this year and be playing in the Championship next season, presumably still ground sharing with Birmingham City. I'd like to do some more investigating on this, Nick, because I've seen the story this morning where they want to basically come to an arrangement with the assistance of Warwick University to build a new £30 million stadium on the outskirts of Coventry, I think towards the southwest of the city. But I'm just wondering, for £30 million, can't you potentially get an agreement in place for the current stadium that you've already got? That would be the ideal, wouldn't it? I mean, they moved into the Rico this century. That's unfathomable. That there's genuinely no chance back there. So I'd really like to do some digging on that, Nick. It might be something we come back to during August to investigate what's happening there, because it's got to be more to it. I know there's a big bust up with the links of the football, the rugby, the city, the owners, Izu. Is it Izu? Obviously, the stadium holders themselves is very complicated, but just feel like for £30 million, can't you get the agreement then to just get back into your own stadium? So I want to investigate that, Nick, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, Coventry City, like any football club, got to be playing where they come from. Christopher tells, afternoon, James. Wanted to know your opinions on some of the transfers that have happened so far. Chelsea getting Ziyech, Werner, and possibly Havertz. City looking like favourites to sign Aki. So I can't comment too much on Havertz because I've not seen that much of him, if I'm honest. I think anything that I told you would probably be a bit of bullshit. I've obviously seen my own team, Spurs, play against both Ziyech and Werner in the Champions League over the last 14 months or so. Ziyech's a very talented player. Reminds me a lot of Mahrez, possibly Mahrez light, if I'm honest. But I can see the comparisons. Likes to come in on his left foot from the right-hand side. I think that's generally where you'll see him play. Capable of very, very good things, actually. I think his goals output might not be what some are expecting, but he's a very, very good signing. Will improve Chelsea, and absolutely Timo Werner will be. It's potentially a huge steal what they've got for Werner if it's the 60-odd million pound that's reported. I think he'll end up playing through the middle for Chelsea. I think when I've seen him best is probably where Pulisic currently plays. That could be that Pulisic plays in a central role and they play behind an Abraham or a Giroud, or if they go and buy someone else. But I suspect at the moment Werner's going to go through the middle. And obviously, if they're looking to get Havertz in as well, then you could see that where it would be Havertz central, two holding midfielders or sitting midfielders in a double pivot in a 4-2-3-1. Ziyech to the right, Pulisic to the left, Werner through the middle. And that's very exciting. It still won't get anywhere near qualifying, challenging for the title unless they fix up what they're doing defensively. But it'll be very exciting. They'll win a few games 4-3 and stuff next season. Nathan Aki's an interesting one because there's quite a bit of debate about this on our Slack channel last night for our Patreon users. And it's very split between people thinking that Ake's going to, if he goes to City, going to be a partner for Laporte, or if he's going to be an understudy. I would have no doubt in my mind that he would be an understudy. I think that it's to cover for Laporte, because City can't afford for Laporte to go missing for 6 months again. And missing is the wrong word. He obviously picks up a bad injury. But they can't afford to put that pressure on him again, because Laporte's essential. He's the one very good centre-half that they've got. So I think that they'll most likely be looking for another partner to play on the right side of Laporte, or they've genuinely got enough high hopes for Garcia, and he'll partner Laporte, and they'll have Otamendi / Fernandinho / Stones, whoever stays, whoever goes, as understudy to that. So yeah, honestly, if they bought Nathan Ake, if everyone's fit at the moment, the first pairing, it was the same pairing that played against Arsenal at the weekend. He's not going to play Ake or Laporte right-sided centre-half, as far as I'm concerned. There's a huge difference to playing left-sided centre-half and right-sided centre-half, honestly. A good example I'll give you is Ledley King. So Ledley King was a right-footed player who was very comfortable and played nearly all of his career at centre-back as a left-sided centre-half for Tottenham. And when he was trying to break into the England team, a lot of people used to ask me, you know, what's the best pairing for England at centre-half? And I always used to say Terry and Ferdinand, even though I thought Ledley King on his day was capable of competing with the two of them when he was fit, etc. The reason for that is balance. So if it was a choice between Terry and King, I couldn't really argue that John Terry was the rightful, and another right-footed player who played left-sided centre-half, the same as King. Whereas Ferdinand was right-sided. It was just a natural fit. And actually, when King did play a couple of times with John Terry, he used to play on the right side of him for England, and he was uncomfortable even though he was right-footed. What you'd essentially be asking is Nathan Ake to play in a position to the right of Laporte, which he's played very recently for Bournemouth with Lloyd Kelly out of necessity before he picked up the injury. But a position that he hasn't played before. I'm telling you, there is huge differences with playing left-sided centre-half and right-sided centre-half, particularly when you're going to be on the ball a lot, which obviously playing for Manchester City, you will be. So I would only see Ake coming in as an understudy to Laporte, and Laporte therefore wouldn't play as often as normal. They would rest him through comfort of knowing they've got a very good understudy there. On Ake, I think this is harsh. I think if he was a right-footed player, people wouldn't speak about him in the same way. I think there's been players who have played in the Premier League who have given teams good balance because they've been left-sided, like Laporte, like Jan Vertonghen at Tottenham. It feels like Tottenham have been, not so much now under Mourinho because he doesn't really care what his centre-halves do on the ball. The Spurs were very much looking at people like Ake as long-term replacements for Vertonghen. And I feel that if he was right-footed, we just wouldn't speak about him in the same way. I genuinely don't. I think he's a good centre-half. I'm not particularly criticising him as a player. I just feel it's overemphasised because he's left-footed and he will give someone natural balance. I also think for him personally, Manchester City would be a bad move. I think like going back to Chelsea, for example, would be a good move for him. I think maybe even going to Tottenham, for example, would be a good move for him. Perhaps even Arsenal, particularly if they were to stay with the currency. I think it's quite clear that Arsenal want to favour whether they're going to play a back four or a back three. Arteta wants that same balance. He wants his left-sided, or be it of a two centre-halves or three centre-halves, to be left-footed. I think it'd be a bad career move for Nathan Ake, personally. Sam Cole, hi James. Hard to predict, but do you see KDB starting tonight? Here we go. No. I mean, can I see him starting? Yeah, of course. Do I think he will? My instinct's probably no, actually. FPL Badger, if there's another season of Champ Man, do you think it will be automatically be 2002 to 2003? If you could pick any season, which would you go for? Wouldn't be my place to say, but I presume it would just be a continuation of the game, to be honest, Mark. Christopher Sellers also, are there any specific but realistic transfers you'd like to see from Spurs, or any outgoings? I want Spurs to get back to a philosophy of buying young British players. I would have liked them to have been in for, say, Jude Bellingham, who's just gone to Borussia Dortmund. I think not necessarily that young, but I think Spurs should get back to what started this whole good period of the last 15 years was targeting people like Paul Robinson, Jermaine Defoe, Michael Carrick, Michael Dawson, Aaron Lennon, all these good young players who then went on to go and play for England. Doesn't have to be English, it could be British. It can obviously be people from other countries as well. Spurs will only try and exploit markets where they think they can get hold of players on the cheap. So I think Spurs might look at leagues like Portugal, Holland, South American leagues. Is the wild held belief that a lot of South American talent might be coming over to Europe generally cheaper than would have previously been the case because of the financial crisis. So in terms of specific, it's very difficult for me to answer, Chris, because I don't really know if Tottenham have got any money or not. I mentioned Ricardo Pereira on the podcast yesterday, but I think it would cost a fortune. I think it's way beyond Spurs' budget, for example. Thiago is being linked with Liverpool, so you can forget that. These players are going to cost too much money for what Tottenham have got at the moment. So therefore, you're looking to buy and make stars rather than buy stars originally. So Spurs have to operate very differently. I think Eric Dyer signed a new contract today is great news. I know a lot of people will smirk and giggle with that. I'm always pleased when a player signs a new contract for my football club, because if nothing else, it puts greater value on their market resale value. And I think listening to the interview with Dyer today, it's very clear that he's going to be a centre-back and a centre-back only, even though he didn't say it in so many words. And I think he's potentially going to be Mourinho's first choice next season. I don't know if he'll play on Sunday or not, but I think next season Eric Dyer is going to be probably Mourinho's first choice, and probably as the left-sided centre-half, by the way, ironically, as a right-footer. So that potentially saves, because suddenly you've got Dyer, Sanchez, Alderweireld, assuming Vertonghen leaves, Tanganga as backup. And that's okay. It's not brilliant, but that doesn't make the necessity to go and buy a centre-half this season quite as big. It will be next season, because I'm pretty sure that would be Alderweireld's last. Fullback's the priority. Central midfield's the second priority. And that needs fixing. Then, and only then, really, can we work on the creativity of the team as well. Because until we fix the components of what we do in the transition in the deeper positions, it's not going to help on the creativity aspect either. So fullbacks number one priority, particularly at right back, because I would like to hope still that left back Ryan Sessegnon will be coached into something properly. But I think Mourinho's probably going to give up on him, to be honest. Dread FPL afternoon, James. Your thoughts on Leicester v Manchester United match? Which team and or assets do you think are worth holding, having, or should assets from both sides be avoided? I mean, look, I'm on a free hit, so I'll try and remove myself from that, but I'm naturally going to be influenced to give you my thoughts upon my own team. So Leicester, for me, would be under no consideration at all, other than perhaps the young boy Thomas can sit on my bench at 4.0. For United, it depends how close I get to Suj in the mini league this week. So basically, I've got 3 players against his 3 players. So I've got Pope, Sterling, and Maguire versus his Martial, someone else, and someone else. So if I can narrow that gap, I might just try and do the same on him and try and up him on sort of 4 or 5 of his weakest players. If I'm 15, 20 points behind, I might change my whole team. In which case, I would sell Fernandes, for example. So go on, so you have him this week and I'm not having him, and I'll take you on. So Rashford's the one that you can't really get to. So I would maybe consider Marcus Rashford. I think the best Manchester United asset for Sunday, as it would stand right now, in my opinion, based on what I've seen from Leicester very recently, would be Anthony Martial, actually. So I think the attacking United players are absolutely fine to have this weekend. I don't think you need to bin them or fear it or anything like that. Leicester, I think if you can move on, move on. If it's straightforward. If you've got Jamie Vardy, there are very good options at slightly more expensive in Aubameyang and Kane, and obviously at cheaper ones in the likes of Danny Ings, Chris Wood. They've all got more chance of scoring this weekend than Vardy, in my opinion. So I would move on, I think. United's fine, though. If you're without the free hit and you've got 3 Manchester United players, if I didn't have it, I wouldn't be moving the Manchester United assets. I would leave them in and I would play them. FPL Badger, also, you think there's a chance Rockstar could be having us on and does, in fact, get us leaks for Sunday? No, I really don't think so, mate. He's not done that sort of thing before. I'd be very, very surprised. I think he's at a level now. What's he got? 55,000 followers or something just off these team news leaks. And for being reliable, he's deserved it. I feel a little bit with him, and I might be speaking out of turn because it's obviously his account. I've never spoken to him personally. That some of it's becoming a bit frustrating for him. So I don't think he needs to try and pull that kind of trick to get more followers or anything like that. It will naturally come for him anyway. So if something lands for him, then he might do it. But I genuinely trust what he's saying in terms of he's saying he's not going to have it, so he won't have it. There will be, as I've warned, a lot of fake accounts going around this Sunday. Absolutely certain. Best advice I can give you is know the sources that you trust and do not believe a word you hear from any other sources. Literally go with your guys. So I want to do some research and back looking at some people that people have recommended to me and see if it checks out or not. And if it does, I may well trust them. But I think, to be honest, I've always been an advocate for just supporting, like trusting on Rockstar's word and Rockstar's only, because I just know that he's 100% right. There are a couple of others that I'll look at, but I won't be recommending them as names this week. Like, once I've done my research, I'm going to keep that to myself. And it's not I want the advantage, you can't have it. Whoever I trust, I'm not going to trust 100%. That's part of my point. And that's why I don't really want to pass that information on. But I think it's very easy to hunt through Twitter and find the people that you'll be able to trust who may get team news for you on Sunday. For those without the free hit, I wouldn't trust it so much. For those who've got the free hit, you're going to play around on the news. That's inevitable. I'm going to be doing the same thing. Colin Con, if you had to gain 20 points in game 38 in the mini league, who would you captain? Player your rival does not have. 3 differentials, 20% less that could haul. 3 players you would take a -4 in game 38 to get. So again, I've got to remove myself from that personally, but players that Suj is going to struggle to get to really appeal for me. And the 2 standouts therefore are Mohamed Salah and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. They're the 2 standouts who I think right now will most likely be in my game week 38 team, because Suj is going to have to do some damage to his team if he wants to get one of those 2 in. So I think the 2 of them are probably, if I'm in that situation where I really need to chase Suj, they're probably my captain and my vice captain going into the weekend, I think. And it's not to mean they're the best choices for you. It's just my circumstance. Kane is okay, but it wouldn't particularly interest me. Mikel Antonio is an interesting one, actually. Playing Villa, particularly if Villa are already relegated, I think. And the only one for that, for me, is I suspect that Suj might go to Antonio as well. And I don't really want to be making the same move. It's going to be a little bit of poker between me and Suj, I think, over the next couple of days. Aubameyang and Salah, I think, would be the standouts, particularly if Aubameyang scores tonight. I think he starts then Sunday. Whereas I think if they get beat and the season is over from a league campaign, you couldn't even guarantee that it will start against Watford. So that's why I kind of want to avoid the FPL questions a little bit in this stream, because there is a lot that's going to happen in the next 30 hours or so that's potentially going to completely impact how you feel about the weekend. Angus McPhail says, barring significant additions, which teams do you think could be in trouble next season? I know that they have been the ultimate beach team since resumption, but I think Palace could be one. Yeah, the only sympathy I have with Palace is the fixture run has been really difficult. Really difficult. We spoke about this on the return, that they had the hardest fixture run left. So, I mean, is it a surprise that they've scored 2 goals only and they were both in one game against Chelsea and still lost? And they've lost, sorry, that's a lie, since the first game against Bournemouth. And they've lost every game since that Bournemouth game. No, I didn't expect them to have it that bad. I saw Tom Campbell posted a stat last night that they need to score 3 against Tottenham in the final game to avoid their worst goal scoring season ever in their history, I think. And I don't mean to put the mockers on it, but you wouldn't see him scoring 3 goals at the weekend. Doesn't mean they can't beat Tottenham, but you wouldn't see him scoring 3 times. I think if they start badly next season, they'll cut their losses with Hodgson, I think. Because then you're looking at a sustained period of potentially 11, 12 games without a win. And no matter who you are, you're liable to get sacked at that stage. So Palace, yeah, you would put into there. I think you need to watch for the situation with Burnley, with Sean Dyche. Sean Dyche stays, No problem. I don't think they'll have really bad runs, but they'll also have a consistent run of 4 or 5 games somewhere where they'll pick up 3 1-0 wins in 5 games or something and get themselves out of trouble because they're reliable like that. Failing that, it's the sides down now, and it does feel like this year might be particularly difficult for the sides coming up. If I think of sides that have been down there this year, West Ham, I expect to be better. I think they'll still be down there, but I expect them to be better. Brighton could really push on. The other one that'll be a mass danger is Newcastle, if the takeover doesn't happen. If the takeover happens, they'll probably change manager, buy some players, and it won't matter. If for some reason the takeover drags on into 2021, and let's be honest, it's been dragging on for 3 months now, then Newcastle was the other one I would get really worried for, actually. FPL Alex, start Lamptey ahead of Doherty in game week 38 question. Doherty, I just don't feel like he's the sort of player you can leave out your team, to be honest. I suspect Sudge will do that at the weekend, actually, is leave Doherty out. Thing is with Lamptey, right, you might play 15 minutes at the end. I'd be nervous about the fact, I mean, he obviously played for Brighton yesterday. I didn't watch the game with Sheffield United and Everton. I'd be nervous about the fact he played yesterday, and he played at Southampton on Thursday as well. That would make me really nervous that Charlotto or who's the other fellow got a right back, Montoya, could come in. So I'd be really nervous about that. If I didn't have the free hit, Lamptey would be sitting third on my bench and he wouldn't be moving any week. That's what I said when I got him in a few weeks back to move funds. When I brought him in for Laporte, I said that fellow is sitting there as third sub every week. I can't trust Potter in terms of what he's going to do. So for me, he would stay as third substitute. Ryan Henderson says, what do you think Leicester versus Manchester United score will be? Again, very difficult to predict because, I mean, should West Ham go and cause a shock tomorrow night, then the whole layout changes where suddenly I think Leicester would maybe only need a draw. It's unlikely, right? But the difficult to predict at this stage. If you ask me now in terms of my expectations, I would probably say 2-0 or 3-1 United. I think if Leicester were to beat Manchester United on Sunday and get into the Champions League in place of United, that would shock everybody. It would be genuinely a huge shock. So no, I would only expect Manchester United to win. FPX says, would you rather have Salah or Aubameyang for game week 38? Again, that depends a little bit on what we see from Arsenal tonight and if they get a positive result or not. If they get beat tonight, I would rather have Salah. If Aubameyang scores tonight and they get a good result, I think I'd rather have Aubameyang. Benny Blanco, hey James, mine's a Sky question, no probs, pal. Got one transfer left. Do you think transferring out Kane to a starting City attacker, Sterling maybe in brackets, or Aubameyang is a good final move? Gives me a possible 2 for 1. Yeah, possible. As in possible 2 for 1, Benny. I made my final transfer last night going Danny Ings to Doherty. That's going to confuse a lot of the FPL listeners. Just switch off for 10 seconds. Because I decided that wasn't part of my original plan, but it's just looking at the City guys and then knowing that they're probably not starting twice. Like if you're sitting there disappointed without a free hit and you've got Sterling, De Bruyne and Mahrez and none of them start tonight, I'd be feeling very, very confident about the weekend. So I think the majority of the Manchester City players are not going to start these 2 games. I think you're likely to have 8 or 9 changes from the Manchester City team that plays Norwich to whatever plays tonight. And therefore, Benny, is it worth it? I'm not sure it is. And actually, target United instead. That would be my thinking at the moment. So I obviously don't know what Manchester United assets you've got for that game at the moment. But I think if you want to go down that route, genuinely, I would. And if you're looking to come off Kane, I would go to Martial or Rashford. That's the play I think I'd be making. Eric Fordham says, hi, James. To be a decent FPL player, what do you think is the standard amount of football you should be trying to watch each game week in order to gather enough information to form your own opinions? To form your own opinions. Well, the thing is, you can form your own opinions based on stats. We know, sorry to relate back to Sky, but Dan Cox, who won the Sky game in 2017, reckons he didn't watch any football that season. He literally did it all off data, and I realise it's a slightly different game to FPL. But I'm sure we've had people win FPL before watch no football. So look, you know me, I'm an eye test kind of guy. I like to watch my games, make my own opinions, my own judgments on things. But that won't be for everyone, and you can form your own opinions based just off stats if that's what you prefer to do. So I think the right balance is probably what I would normally do during a regular season, which is probably watch 4 or 5 live games over a weekend. That's probably where I'd be at, and then just take in the little bits that I can that's not too much from the other games. It might be those games I go and do some extra reading on, for example, or try and seek out different highlights or perhaps fan opinions that things that I might not have seen. So there isn't a right or wrong on that, Eric. I mean, this week from Saturday lunchtime, Saturday Norwich Burnley till tomorrow night, I'm going to have watched every live game bar Brighton and Newcastle. And the reason I chose to miss Brighton Newcastle rather than Sheffield United and Everton is there's a small chance that Everton might come into my thoughts for my free hit at the weekend. Players like Richarlison, Calvert-Lewin, Luca Dean, maybe even like Michael Keane. There's a few that I would potentially consider there from Everton. That's why I chose to watch that particular game. Whereas I know that on my free hit, I am not buying any Brighton or Newcastle players, certainty. Other than, to be honest, I might leave Lamptey sitting there still or third sub. So from that point of view, there was a choice there for me on the eye test to get a closer look at Everton. And they were much better yesterday, by the way. And we'll talk about it on Thursday and Friday with at Spirit Blues on Clash of Correspondence. There isn't right or wrong, though. This period for me at the moment, I'm going to be really pleased when I get to Thursday. And the reason I'm going to be really pleased when I get to Thursday is because, as many of you will know, I'm essentially doing this full time now. And it's not a 9 till 5 at the moment. At the moment, it's more like a 9 till 1 o'clock in the morning every day because I'm watching all the football. And at the moment, it feels like work. Genuinely, it really feels more like work than watching football. A lot of the games are quite painful, but I want to come on the podcast and analyse them and assess them properly for you guys as well, even if there isn't any assets that I'm particularly interested in, for example. So I'm going to be glad when it's finished, just to have some days break where I can go, 5 o'clock, right, that's a bit of child time, I'm done. So yeah, I'm going to be pleased that it's calming back down, actually. FP Alex, who do you predict finishes top 3 of Golden Boot and how many goals? I think Vardy with what he's got first, and Aubameyang and Salah capable of jumping Ings, both capable of still winning it, as is Ings. I think Vardy will still win it. I don't think he'll score at the weekend, but I don't think anybody else will get enough goals to catch him. So Aubameyang or Salah could get close, and obviously if one of them goes off tonight or tomorrow respectively, then they become extremely attractive for the weekend. And you'll see a real push for that. If Aubameyang scores twice for that, you'll see loads of people pushing to captain him on Sunday. If Salah scores twice against Chelsea tomorrow, you'll see the same thing. Loads pushing to captain him against Newcastle on Sunday. FP Alex also says, do you think Pope wins the Golden Glove? I think it'd be a great achievement if he does. I know that they're going to do everything to try and keep Brighton out at the weekend. That's a certainty. If Manchester City concede tonight, then I think, yes, he probably does. Because one ahead of Ederson, isn't he? So it could be that they finish level. That's not impossible, even if City concede tonight, clean sheet against Norwich, Burnley concede at the weekend. So if you ask me, instinct is I think they might share it, actually, would be my instinct. Paul H says, Aubameyang, Jesus or Kane for 38. Depends on the City lineup tonight. So if Jesus is not in the Manchester City lineup, then Jesus. If he is, then Aubameyang. That would be my take. Jesus is probably more likely to play all of the games because of his position, and there isn't someone else naturally to play that position. Plus, I've spoken, I think after their fixture with Newcastle, about his confidence, and playing against these weaker sides is good for his confidence. On yesterday's podcast, I was very critical of him in terms of his performance in the Arsenal game, but I wouldn't doubt that if he played both of these 2 games, then he would probably get 3 goals, probably over these next 2 games. On instinct, I think, Paul, that he probably won't start tonight and will on Sunday. That's probably my instinct. Angus McPhail says, with the news that there will be no Ballon d'Or this year, who do you think will feel most hard done by? I think someone like Lewandowski must be annoyed by that. Very difficult to say, because that would be probably very dependent on the final stages of the Champions League with no international tournament. Although I think they'll win it, by the way, Bayern Munich. I would make them favourites personally. Yeah, possibly. But then doesn't it just reform to it'll go Messi or Ronaldo anyway? Most likely. It's only really Modric got it with obviously the World Cup year and that, wasn't it? So yeah, I can see why they've scrapped it. I don't particularly think that's a bad thing to do. I think they're still going to give it to someone personally, but yeah, perhaps some of the Bayern guys. Ryan Cameron, hi James. Which two should I start out of? Fabianski, Cresswell, Alex McCarthy, and Jack Stevens. Oh, I see. So you want either one combination from West Ham and Southampton or a double up of both. Ooh. I wouldn't overly fancy either for a clean sheet, actually, oddly enough. But they've both got very good fixtures. I would definitely favour Fabianski over Alex McCarthy. It's just a personal preference. I'd probably go to West Ham double up. Don't tell Suj I said that. Danny Burns, hi James. Call it lucky, good planning, but I swapped Syunku for Peters after his red card. I was going to go to Tarkovsky, but banked the extra money. I have enough to upgrade Raul to Jesus. False. Definitely like that move if Jesus doesn't start tonight. And again, doesn't mean that he won't play on Sunday, but I'd be a little bit more cautious about it. Obviously, by the way, Jimenez's lovely wife has had the baby. We're not quite sure when, but there's a photo of them with the baby this morning. So I don't know if she was just holding off for full time last night. But congratulations to Mr. and Mrs. Jimenez. And he's obviously safe to play in game week 38. Ah, look. This is Angus McPhail. Congrats to Raul Jimenez on his baby being born this morning. He nearly missed game week 37 after all. Exactly. Danny Cunningham. Who would you favour in 38 and in which order? Robbo, Tarkovsky, Maguire. Well, that order. Simple as that. It would be that order is what I would favour. Bloody hell, there's a lot of fucking comments in here, aren't there, guys? I'll have to start firing through these then, or this will, for the audio guys, it will become a 2-hour podcast. Bradley Parker saying afternoon to everyone. Tom Campbell, afternoon, James and everyone else. My question is, are you and Suj intending to keep the balance of FPL to Sky FF content pretty much the same for next season, or pivoting more to Sky FF a touch? No, Tommy, it will still be mainly FPL in terms of content. In terms of where my head's at as a fantasy manager, I am far more interested in the Sky game next season than FPL. And I'm not going to make any bones about that or apologise for it. There's a cash prize there that is actually winnable. So my focus will be far more into Sky next season. Now I know what I'm doing. But from a content perspective, Tom, no, we will always favour FPL. Sky is a UK-based game. A lot of the guys listening to this will be like, shut up, James can't play it. And I get that. So, no, Sky will be the same next year. It will stay part of the free content. Almost definitely will stay on Wednesdays as well, Tom. But no, FPL will be the majority of the content. But we won't hide away from Sky. I think a little bit like this now. I'm happy to mention it. FPL Fanatic, hi James, Jesus and Robbo, Raz captain in brackets, or Alba captain and Mendy, the more juicy pair for game week 38. So Jesus and Robbo with Sterling captain, or Aubameyang captain and Mendy, the more juicy pair for game week 38. This is part way I said, guys, let's try and get away from the FPL questions, because so much of this depends on what happens in the next 2 days. I can't really answer that question. You might as well ask me again on Thursday. Yula Yogos says afternoon, Notorious Nerd, Salah or Mane, if you have to pick one for game 38, Salah. And the reason I now favour Salah is because I'll be watching Tottenham, and so I won't watch Salah frustrate the life out of me. And the potential of that golden boot. Anand Mukherjee, sorry if I butchered that, Matt. Hey, James, a very good morning from Kentucky. Paul Coleman says hello. Paul H, Notorious Nerd, Trent or Robertson for game 38. You know what my answer is going to be to that one, mate. It's Trent, obviously. Pete Haley saying afternoon. Garang Barrett, hi, James. What would be your free hit team? That I can't tell you. I have no idea until the games are finished tomorrow evening to even start thinking about it. The only thing I've done with it so far is bought Eric Peters and Phil Bardsley before they had a price rise on Saturday night as part of my free hit team. And whether they stay there or not, I'll decide nearer the time. That's the only thing that I've done with it. I genuinely, I'm not even thinking about it. It's pointless. I'm not going to waste energy in my brain about something that I might feel completely different about in 48 hours. Dread FPL, what's up? Notorious Nerd Emerald Pilot, good afternoon. Paul Cullen really can think of anyone to bring in for game week 38. Any mid-price midfielders, defenders. I like Antonio, mid-price midfielders, a shout. Joe Finley Batters in. Eric Fordham. Also just wanted to say, as a first-year FPL player from Australian Insight and informative review each game, which is so helpful. Thank you for your work and you guys do for your audience. Thanks very much, Eric. It's very kind of you. And recommending Prudence as a potential differential for the weekend. Yeah, it's a fairly good shot. It was impressive last night. Good player. Does he start Sunday away to Chelsea? It's got to be better options for this weekend. Sam Thomas, where are you hopeful Spurs finishing next season at this moment in time? 4th. I mean, that's hopeful. I think that's best case scenario. So that's the answer to that, Sam. Where do I think we'll finish? Somewhere lower than 4th. You'll need to use my bench boost for game week 38. Well, you could always not, but that would be a bit silly. Is it worth taking out Messina and Charlie Taylor each for hits? I have 2 transfers, but using them to bring in Silva and Aubameyang. Well, wait till you get the team news on Friday. Messina, I'd just leave. Charlie Taylor, if he's not playing, I would potentially go -4. Yeah, take the chance that one of those Burnley guys at the same price will get you clean sheet. That's probably where I'd be at. Anand says, if Arsenal win the FA Cup, what Spurs do won't matter. That's very good for you, Anand, but that's not actually the case, is it? Paul Meehan, morning, James. Hope all is well. As a general strategy, how many differential players do you look to free hit if you're chasing the mini league by 10, 20 points? I wouldn't say it's necessarily differentials as such, because I'll probably get in a few players who are quite highly owned, like Mohamed Salah, who, if he scores a couple Wednesday, I think will be most captained on Sunday, even above the City assets, because it will be split. And Such can't get to him, I don't think. So it's not even a differential. It's literally just what is, for me, it will be what is my rival doing. If it's a mini league, chasing one individual in a mini league. FPL Fanatic, every year at least one of the game week 38 fixtures is chaotic goals factory. Crystal Palace 5, Bournemouth 3, Tottenham 5, Leicester 4, Hull 1, Tottenham 2, Newcastle 1, Tottenham 5. That was the other way around. I was at 3 of them, mate. The only one I weren't at was Crystal Palace and Bournemouth. As some of the previous year results, which game are you picking this year? I think it might be Everton and Bournemouth, actually. It's part why I've got them on for Friday at Spirit Blues and AFC BNG. I think it might be Everton and Bournemouth. Might be the one where just out of nowhere it goes off, particularly if Bournemouth are already relegated. I think that might possibly be the one that it'll be like 4-2 and you'll be like, where did that come from? Notorious Nerd, should Man City sign Ferran Torres and play Foden in midfield, or get Grealish and keep Foden on the wing next season? In all honesty, Notorious, I haven't seen enough of Ferran Torres, so I wouldn't be best placed to answer that question. Pete Haley, what teams would you like to come up to the Prem? The 3 teams that earn it the most. I'd love to see Brentford come up, but I'd love to see Fulham come back up for Dara. I know we've got loads of West Brom followers, so I'd like to see them come up. Forest, it feels like they haven't been around for a while. Got a few of our patrons support Cardiff and Swansea, so I'm kind of at the stage now where you haven't really got preference as such. So it'd be nice to see Brentford come up because it's a fresh name and they've got some exciting attackers, and for them to come up and have a chance, it would literally have to fall into place for them now, probably. So I'd like to see Brentford come up. Gary Shepherd, hi James, thoughts on the League Cup? No one seems to want it, and the only argument for it is to help lower league clubs financially. My thoughts are, Gary, that, as I've said, and there's been no official statement on this, I think the English teams that qualify for Champions League, Europa League next season won't be in the League Cup next year. I think they'll put out, and I think it could start something, and it's something we're going to watch very, very closely over the next couple of months. At the moment, if Manchester City decide they want to win it, then they're going to win it because of the size of the squad. And that's going to lessen people's interest.
Most of the clubs don't want it, Gary. Simple as that. And the reason they don't want it, Gary, is because of money. That's why they'd also give up the FA Cup, actually. There's not enough money in these cup competitions for it to be worthwhile for them. They will get more money moving from 13th to 12th in the league than they will for winning the FA Cup. And for the League Cup, it's pitiful. I think Manchester City earn, I think it's £300,000 for winning the League Cup. Like, that's fucking De Bruyne's wages for about 3 days, mate. That's an exaggeration. Let's say a week. So they don't care about it. They don't care. You get like, I think you get £600,000, I think, for a draw in the Champions League group stages. So the clubs just don't care about it, mate. There's no financial reward, and that's going to continue. And that's why even the lower clubs, yeah, if they end up in the semi-finals, great, try and win it, but they don't really care. Would be interesting though, next season, if, like I've suggested, the sides that qualify for Europe don't go into it, if the other clubs looked at it any differently and thought, okay, wow, there's a chance here, let's go for it, because some will. And I think that a lot of that will depend on managers. It will depend on the managers at certain clubs. So I think if you take an example of that, I think, say, Hassan Hootel at Southampton would be someone who I think he would try and go and win that trophy. I think Sean Dyche at Burnley, he just wouldn't give a shit. And that will vary from club to club. Joe Finney-Badder, how many are City scoring tonight? Reckon 4. Well, Joe, as we did a podcast on your team for our Patreon podcast today, I don't want to give the game away because I've said on there, but fuck it, I tell you, I think it'll probably be about 2-0 tonight. Anand, you're making a lot of comments. I'm going to have to skip you, mate, or I'm just not going to get anyone else in, unfortunately. Lamichi, thoughts on going without Fernandes for game week 38, thinking of moving him out for differentials such as Mane or Son? Yeah, I mean, Such is going to have him. Such won't sell him. So if I need to chase him, yeah, I'm thinking of going without as well. So it's absolutely fine. JC, I can see Kane moving to Man City, replacing Aguero. JC, you sound like you listened to yesterday's Planet FPL podcast where I suggested the same thing. Bradley Parker saying forgot session on play for Spurs. Don't worry about don't worry about that, Bradley. You're not the only one. I think a lot of Spurs fans have as well. Hello, FPL captain, my graphics hero. How are you? Ditcher says, I'm thinking of Alba for Greenwood and David Silva Mahrez for KDB. I have 2 free transfers. Again, I'm going to be honest. I'm sorry it's boring, but wait till the next 2 days are gone. Another hoops. Would you start Saka v Watford or Ings v Sheffield United this week? I wouldn't leave Danny Ings out. Sod that. Ray Qureshi, I'm currently 4 points above second in my mini league. He has VVD and Foden left, while I have TAA as the differentials to play. Think I will stay 2 ahead of game week 38. You'll be fine, mate. Luke DeSavis says transfers for Championship Manager for tonight, James. Well, I presume, Luke, you're being unhelpful and not giving people any information. So, which is understandable as you're now week 2nd or 3rd in that league. Good luck to you, mate. Van Nistelrooy is definitely coming in. I'm going to triple captain him. There was a little bit of a temptation to wild card, which then I can't use the triple captaincy because I want to get the Leeds boys in as well. So I think at the moment I'm either -4 or -8, and it will involve Van Nistelrooy, Rob Lee, and one of Sylvester or Ian Hart, possibly both. That's where it's leading to. Switchbone, hey James, if United beat West Ham by 3 or 4 goals, is Leicester going to forget about Champions League and probably mean boring game or they go for it? What do you think? Well, they can still finish above Chelsea, mate, so it's not going to make any difference, mate. Arif Echo, hi James, hope you're doing well. What things that football can improve as one of the biggest industry on the planet? Thanks. Oh my gosh, that's big. It's a great question. I can make a whole bloody podcast out of that in itself, I think. Oh my God, I don't know where to start with that. I mean, at the moment, bearing in mind its theme with Black Lives Matter and stuff, then now, I mean, we did racism in football back in October, November as a podcast. And I mean, I know it didn't fall on deaf ears to the FPL community and they were very supportive of it. But the general racism message is it's just not having the effects. Like now, just kick these fucking teams out. Like done. Just kick them out. But get your bollocks out and start using them. Enough. Everybody has had enough now. Just kick these clubs out who have repetitively been fined. Go and research Lazio's fines from UEFA in the last 10 years or so, and your jaw will drop. It's basically combines to about roughly the same amount of money that Manchester City got for winning the League Cup. It's scandalous. So that's the number one thing that needs sorting in the current climate. To relate to on pitch itself, we need to sort out VAR, which is not a discussion I want to get onto further now. Those are the two main things. And I guess the third would be and this is very much an English opinion, but we've got to protect our football pyramid and lower league clubs at the moment. Rhinos Leeds. Who do you think will do the best out of Leeds, West Brom and Brentford? Say that's the three for argument's sake. Leeds. Leeds will bloody some noses, I think. They will upset some people. Leeds will definitely at some stage next season be a big six team, probably even a big four team if that's what it becomes. Genuinely, they'll win a game like that and deserve to. At some stage during the season, I think they probably will go 7 or 8 games without a win as well, though. So I think it will go both ways. I think they'll stay up. I would probably think they'll finish about 14th. Brentford and West Brom would find it very, very difficult. They've both got good attacking talents, particularly at the moment. But they will both find it very, very tough should they come up. And I think that goes for anybody else that comes up from the Championship. Leeds, I can't wait to see what Bielsa's going to come up with. I can't wait. It's going to be really good. FPL Andy, afternoon, James. Bit of a random one, but which pub is your usual before Spurs? Do you normally drink in the ground? Well, these days, I tend to just, because of the little one, I tend to just go to the game and come home a lot of the time now. Back in the day, I used to go in the White Horse or the Gilpin, quite often for away games, not at the moment, but before lockdown, I was going in the Beehive quite a bit. It's nice, spacious, decent tellies and that in there. But I don't have a particular preference. I occasionally have a beer in the ground before the game. But my life's changing a little bit, unfortunately, Andy. But you and I will have a beer together soon, definitely. Ryan Hemmings says, good afternoon, James. Firstly, thanks for all yours and Suj's efforts this season. You've been amazing. Thank you. I have a pretty template team. What sort of 2 free transfers would you use to counter rivals' free hit? Oh, that's interesting. So to counter a free hit, well, you need to have a bit of a read on your opponent, actually. This is where we put poker into the title of the podcast last week, but it's an important message. You need to kind of, if you're chasing particularly, or even if you want to block, you need to read what you think your opponent's going to do. What would they do with a free hit? It's not necessarily going to be what I think I would do. So do they have preference? Do they lean back into Salah and Mane's, for example, or Trent's? Do you want to block that? Do you want to go against that? It's a good question, though, Ryan. Like that. I don't know. I think you'd need to look at it from a poker perspective. Go and read some poker books. Rob Pick, do you like the Salah and Mane double up for game week 38 if they get through 37 unscathed and looking okay? I may very well have both, Rob, yeah. He also says, afternoon, bud, you deserve your rest so much, almost out. Thank you, mate. Notorious Nerd, keep Chris Wood or take a hit for a premium pick. Nah, keep him, mate. Elite Steve-O, hello, mate. Says, I hope Salah gets a double, being my cap, laughing my arse off. Steve-O, he's now blanking, mate. Paul Coleman, Keane or Emerson for the double for Championship, man. It's definitely Roy Keane, mate. Lee Williams, with the quick turnaround rumoured for next season, does that make new signings less attractive for next season with less time to settle in, maybe no pre-season, etc.? Well, we think the season is going to restart around September the 12th. And we think the transfer window is going to start until October the 3rd. And I would have a bet now that half the Premier League clubs might not make a signing before next season starts. And you've got a lot of players who you thought, like, kids might be coming through, like Mason Greenwood, Andy Gordon at Everton, plenty of others who feel like they're already established as part of the squad. So you're not going to have the shock and awe on these guys. So let's see how it plays with the market. It's going to be easier for people like
Werner, who's coming in, and you know he's going to be there on the first day of whenever they start training. But fitness we haven't been here before, so it's very difficult to predict if when we restart on September the 12th, if the pace of the games is going to be the same as it was in game week 30 and a lot slower again. I think a lot of the players are basically not going to take a break. I mean, they'll take a break, but they're still going to be running every day, keeping their fitness up. The proper professionals will be doing that. But there will be some that will go and drink for a week. Telling you, because it's their only chance to do it, and they'll take that risk. So we shall see. FPL Cosmos, if nobody has a realistic chance on the final day of winning the Golden Boot, is David Silva then the best captaincy option? Not if he starts tonight, mate. He might be. Is he more capable of exploding more than Jesus or Sterling if they start, though? Not for me. I mean, I'd probably have him in on a free hit, but not for me. Marja says, hi, sir. Nice day. Thank you, Marja. You too. Toshi Jameer, hey, James Morris and David Silva without a hit, or Sterling and David Silva for a hit for final game week. I can't really answer these questions at the moment, mate. It depends on the lineup later. James Hill, should Kane move on, and who would be best fit to replace with the Mourinho structure in mind? Alexander Lacazette. No. Bloody hell. That's not an easy one to answer. It probably wouldn't be anyone playing in the Premier League, I would say. Depends. How much of the money can they spend, etc. I don't know. We'd probably try and get fucking Drogba out of retirement, wouldn't they? Derek says, I saw something about how low owned salaries in the top 10k, though, relative to his typical ownership. Yeah, that's very true, although I think that might look quite different at the weekend, actually, Derek. And Mane is absurdly low. You're absolutely right. I mean, Kinnear says, afternoon, James, thoughts on Spurs getting Europa League question. League form will suffer, but a good chance to win it with Mourinho. It's absolutely spot on opinion that, yeah. Spurs would have a very good chance of winning that next year. And yeah, partly because of Mourinho. He'll go deep in it. And there is a good chance that league form would suffer, particularly in the latter part of the season, I would suggest. That all we can do is win at Crystal Palace at the weekend, and then Wolves will win, draw, or lose at Chelsea. Simple as that. I don't particularly worry about it. We can when you get in this situation. I learned this from what we had with the years with Pochettino. Was worrying about other teams just doesn't do you any good. You have to do your job. We win on Sunday, and Wolves win on Sunday as well. Then we'll finish 7th. And then if Arsenal win the FA Cup, then we ain't in it. It's as simple as that. If we don't win on Sunday, it's not going to matter. Because then we might not even finish 7th, right? So we got to do our bit. I don't worry about what others are doing. I suspect that we probably will make it. Brentford scrapping their academy team and forming Brentford B was genius, says Owen Kinnear. That's another one I'd like to do some investigating on. Martin Boyle looking to play Sky for the first time next season. Any advice you'd offer your first season? Thanks. Mine, at some point early in August, or worst case, mid to late August, we will have a podcast titled Sky Fantasy Football for Dummies. And we don't mean that offensively to anybody. It will be like a starter pack. How points work, how tips. It won't be this player's going to be good, this player's going to be bad. It will be how to play the game. We want to get you all ready, to get you involved. The bigger the game is, the more people involved, the more competitive. And I can see all the regular Sky players biting their nails in the background going, oh, we don't want more players. It's going to be harder to win. Well, it'll just be an even better achievement, wouldn't it? I've already said on this stream last week, one of my targets for next season is that one of my patrons is going to win that game and take the £50,000 next year. I want to find a way where we can make it happen. It might even be that we start doing Patreon Sky podcasts as well. That's something, to go back to Tom Campbell's original question. It might be that we add a Sky podcast just for patrons next year. Patrons, if you're listening, let me know any old suggestions if you think that's a good idea for next season. Another hoops. I've gone Giggs over Ruud van Nistelrooy tonight for Champ Man. Bex and Silvestre. With Bex and Silvestre, and to be honest, I'm shitting it. Don't worry, mate. I'll be here to keep you covered on the stream this evening. Derek says Leeds are freaking animals. Jack Shepherd, James, I have 25 points to make up this week, and my opponent is on a free hit, and I'm not. Do I have any chance? Yeah, if they don't block you. You need to take a very differential option on captain. That's the real one. At least someone that you think that he definitely won't captain, or she. Kevin Mahir, greetings, James from North Carolina. I was a Spurs season ticket holder, back in the 70s, 80s, and early 90s. What do you see Jedson Fernandez's role at Spurs, and do you see him breaking into first team next year? It's a strange sign. It just looks average to me. I think he was a body. I wouldn't be surprised. You can call this controversial if he was bought as a favour. Read that however you like. Don't think he's good enough. Don't think he will be good enough. I would see him as somebody who plays in Europa League group stages. I don't see a lot more than that. FPL Andy, I look forward to that beer as well, mate. Jack Shepherd, Kane, Jesus, KDB, Mahrez, Bruno, Son, Maguire, AWBT, VVDTA, 2 transfers, 1 million in bank. Jack, I'm just not going to cover that sort of question here, mate. It's boring for other people. Marshall Matters, do you think Leeds fullbacks will be great assets next year? Yeah, possibly. I'll be honest, I've not seen enough of them. So, I mean, FPL tactician, the other Leeds fans and the FPL community will be better placed to answer that question than myself. Ask me that question again in 6 weeks and I'll be able to give you a very good answer on it. Another hoop says, I heard rumours that Salah is suffering from a cash leg starter. That's not true. That's a Championship Manager reference for anybody who's wondering. Derek, in any way we can play Sky living in the colonies. I think in Gibraltar, maybe Malta, you can play. Definitely in Gibraltar you can play because Sky's base is in Gibraltar. I'm pretty sure of that. But if you win it, mate, you're going to have to give them proof of an address in the UK, and I imagine they will backtrack and check things like VPNs. So it's not worth it, unfortunately. Paul Meehan, I love the plan aspect James is always talking about. That's in relation to Sky. Owen Kinnear said, should Spurs be signing another striker? Not much backup for a Kane injury. No, I mean, what we need more than that is another Heung-min Son. Son can play up front. Bergwijn can play up front. Moura can play up front. Lamella can play as a false 9. Troy Parrott is 17 and will improve. There's always this case you need a backup for Kane. And the only solution really is to go and get someone like Igalo, who is going to come in and he's going to be happy to know that he's not playing. He's going to get minutes now and again, but he knows his role is backup. And that's it. And then ask yourself, if you're without Harry Kane for 3 or 4 months, which has happened to Spurs a couple of times in the last few seasons, is Odion Igalo, for example, when it's just the first name that popped into my head, is that good enough? And the answer is probably not. Unfortunately, it's probably not. So Spurs are better off, if you can go and find another Son, is the better solution. Someone who can then cover him out wide while he goes and plays through the middle. So no, a backup for Kane would be so far down my list of priorities for Spurs you wouldn't believe. It'd be about the 8th or 9th thing I would look at. It would be so far down the list of my priorities. The fucking rest of the team needs fixing first. And on that note, guys, I'll end the podcast, or stream rather. Thanks very much. That was a good hour of entertainment and fun. Sorry to kind of be a bit nonplussed on some of the FPL questions, but some of them, like Salah or Aubameyang, in my opinion, really does matter on what happens on the next 48 hours. And the same, you'll know the Manchester City team in 3 hours, and then you can start your thinking from there. So perhaps I should have left it a bit earlier. James Hurd says, "Do you sleep?" is the final comment, and the answer to that is yep. Just not as much as I used to. But thanks very much, guys. Really enjoyable. Good luck for the rest of the game week. Hope your arrows are green. In terms of content for the rest of the week, for the patrons, you obviously had your Q&A yesterday, and we've released a podcast on Nigel Pearson sacking at Watford today, and we delve a little bit deeper into Watford. What do they want to be as a football club? Some of their previous managers, etc. It's a good half hour on Watford and what we think they might do tactically and how we think the game might go tonight as well. For the main viewers, obviously it's on YouTube from yesterday. The main podcast, about an hour and 15 minutes, reviewing all the weekend action, including the FA Cup games. Tomorrow we'll do Sky. Thursday we'll do main podcast again, so we'll be reviewing all the games Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
And then on Friday, we've got Clash of the Correspondents, looking at Everton and Bournemouth with Sean at Spirit Blues and Neil at AFCB NG. Be a good one, particularly, I think, for free hitters. I don't suppose Everton and Bournemouth assets are particularly on radars of those with free transfers. But I think for free hitters, I wouldn't rule out either of them, honestly. And I really, really mean that. And as I said earlier, I think it could be the game that might go off this weekend. For the patrons, tomorrow we got Tottenham. We'll be taking a little deeper look at Tottenham and West Ham's weekends, perhaps a little bit of analysis of the season. How do we feel now, knowing a bit more what our outlook for next season may be looking like? Thursday, we've got a quiz, A to Z quiz on Premier League relegations is the theme. And on Friday, we'll have our Game Week 38 preview. Champ Man streams tonight, 8:30 p.m. and 2:30 p.m. on Saturday. And on Sunday, I will do a deadline stream here on YouTube from 1:30 p.m. till at least around about 3:15. So you'll get an hour and a half of me to ask all your FPL questions then if you want to before the deadline. Just bear in mind, from 2:45, I will not be answering questions because I will be doing my own team live on the stream. Right, guys, thanks very much. Much appreciate that. Thanks for joining everybody in the chat, except for the one dickhead who asked about 20 questions. If you're wondering why you didn't get answered, you've been blocked, mate. What a shame. For those listening on the audio, thanks very much. And please cue the music, man, Charles. Ciao for now, everyone.